For 800 years, the custody of the Holy Land has continued its constant commitment and its uninterrupted presence, working to serve pilgrims and for the good of the people of the Holy Land, guarding the places of salvation with love and dedication without ever getting tired or bored. Today, as in past times, the custody has taken an initiative that clearly demonstrates its constant commitment to serving and dedicating itself to the land of our Lord Jesus Christ. Today, the custody acts as a bridge of care and an affectionate passage for the inhabitants of Gaza, wounded due to the war, bringing them to Italy in an attempt to save their good souls from the effects of the war. Today, as the Franciscan custody of the Holy Land has been and always will be represented in its sons, the children of Saint Francis, in this land of salvation, who we can define as sons of the gift, and their story is simply a love story. Dear brothers and sisters, may the peace of Christ be in your hearts. As we mentioned earlier in the introduction, our report is distinct and addresses very important topics. It is a single topic rather than many because the underlying theme is the essence and is the heart of all the others. And it is our story as Franciscans in the Holy Land because it is a love story. With us today, there is a very dear guest. One who loves to work and to donate. He is a guest who loves to represent his custody in every action he takes or can take. With us today is Father Ibrahim Feltz, Vicar of the Custody of the Holy Land. Welcome, Father Ibrahim.
Thank you, Father, and good morning.
Today we are not in the Holy Land, but in Italy. And obviously, everyone will get to know why we are here and why Father Ibrahim is here. But firstly, I would like to make a small introduction by asking, how many years have you been the Vicar of the Custody of the Holy Land?
I have been Vicar of the Custody for almost 2 years now.
Father, before approaching all the topics, we always like to introduce our guests. Please introduce yourself. How does Father Ibrahim Feltz like to define himself?
I am Egyptian, born in Egypt, where I also studied philosophy, and then I was asked to choose, either to complete my theology studies in Egypt by doing only 1 year of military service, or to stop my studies to do military service in the army and then study theology in Jerusalem. So I chose the second option.
واعمل الجيش هلا واعمل اللاهوت في القدس.
Naturally, I preferred to serve in the military for 2 years and 4 months, and I was willing to do even 10 years just to be able to come to Jerusalem. This was a dream for me, and that's what happened. I came to Jerusalem and completed my theology studies there. I have been in Jerusalem since 1989 and studied theology there for 3 years because I completed a full year while doing my military service in the army in Egypt. After that, I was ordained a priest and appointed assistant parish priest of Father George Abu Khazain in the parish of Bethlehem. Furthermore, they appointed me director of the Terra Santa School in Jericho. I've been in the Holy Land for almost 35 years now, and I am one of the very few monks who have served for so many years between Bethlehem and Jerusalem. My service has always been in these 2 cities. I have never left Jerusalem, nor have I left Bethlehem. Serving these 2 cities, dear to the heart of every Christian, is a blessing for everyone, especially for me, as I am Egyptian. This is a gift from God, and I am very happy about it.
I am very interested in the question of service in Jerusalem and Bethlehem. Dear brothers and sisters, we will talk about it during the program. Father, you served as assistant parish priest. but also as school director. You also served in Casanova, in Jerusalem, and Bethlehem. You have served in various fields, especially in schools up to the present day. Your service is very effective and is located in the central office of the Franciscan Schools of the Custody. We will return to this topic later. Instead, I would like to start by talking about the beginning of your vocation. We often talk to young people about vocations in general, and monastic vocations in particular. So before talking about your work in the field of the Lord, how did your vocation arise? You served in the army for 2 years and 4 months. Wasn't this period enough to extinguish a vocation that you felt, and for which you had come from Egypt? How could all this happen?
وإجيت تكمل دعوتك لأنك حسيت إنك أنت مدعو لأنك تخدم في القدس. كيف هذا الشعور بيصير؟ كيف هذا الإشي بيصير؟
The beginning of my vocation was a bit strange. I come from a poor family. My father was employed by the Ministry of Health, and his income was modest. My family consists of 9 members. I started working when I was in primary school, and when I reached middle school, I started going to Port Said, and it was the time of Sadat's government. Import and export were prohibited at that time, and Port Said was a free zone. If someone wanted to dress fashionably and wanted to buy important brands, he or she could only find them in Port Said. All kinds of clothes and jeans, and all the brands that young people like were present in this region. I used to go there once a week. I started like this, and I remember well that the parish priest gave me 100 Egyptian pounds, and I had some money because I was working at the time. In short, I went to Port Said and bought some goods and started selling. On my first trip there, I earned 30 pounds. I bought goods for the sum of 300 and earned 30.
أخذت منه 100 جنيه بتذكرها كتير منيح وكان عندي فلوس لأن كنت بشتغل فرحت بورسعيد واشتريت بضاعة والحاجات ديت وبدأت أبيع. أول مشوار أنا كسبت 30 جنيه في أول مشوار. كنت طالع حوالي ب 300 جنيه اشتريت حاجات وبعدها تقريبا 30 جنيه كسبت.
You achieved a net profit of 10%?
My father worked roughly the whole month to earn 5 pounds, quite a big difference. I saw it as a profitable business and started going out once a week. I used to start the journey at midnight, arriving in Port Said at 6 o'clock in the morning, buy all the goods and things that people asked for, and return to Alexandria. I used to travel about 6 hours and arrive at midnight. I was a merchant, and I started opening shops. As a Christian, I was not committed nor practicing. I only went to church to play football, not to pray. I liked playing football in the church oratory, and my friends were with me. With 2 of them, of whom I was very fond, I formed a solid brotherly relationship. I learned that they had entered the seminary to become priests, and they always used to tell me, "Come with us." But my thoughts were so far from this path. I only thought about commerce until the parish priest encouraged me to go there just to gain experience. I went there for a whole week, during which I went to confession. And I remember well that one of the priests there asked me, "Why are you here?" I told him, "I am not here to become a priest. I'm only here for a week and then I'll leave." In fact, a week later, there was a priest who wanted to go from Cairo to Alexandria, and he wanted to take me with him. We were playing football, and the match was very intense between the students of Cairo and the students of Alexandria, and I wanted to continue the match. So I asked him to leave alone, saying that I would join him by train the following day.
وفعلا بعد اسبوع كان الخوري لازم يروح كان في القاهره ولازم يروح على اسكندريه فقال لي بمرق باخدك ومره كنا بنلعب كوره كانت مباراه حاميه بين بتوع اسكندريه وبتوع القاهره فهو مستعجل وانا حبيت اكمل المباراه قلت له خلاص انت روح وانا بكره بروح بالترين.
I prepared my things and began to greet the priests. They were Italian monks, originally from Tuscany, who spoke Arabic fluently. and the monk in charge said to me, "Boy, 1 week is not enough. You have to stay and continue." I replied, "I'm not here to become a priest. I'm here to experience your life in the monastic environment." But I was ashamed of him and decided to stay for a while longer.
احترمته كتير استحيت وهيك فقلت اوكي بنقعد شوي.
Every week I greeted the monks, but then I stayed and continued this journey. I thought about my business a lot. The people outside owed me money. I sold in installments, so I had good sums of money outside the monastery walls.
المهم
However, week after week, the monks gave me complete freedom and the ability to make a decision that was right for me.
بدرس الفلسفة وكملت
Either go outside the monastery walls or start studying philosophy. I completed a 3-year stint and did my military service in the army. The three of us, I, Luca, and Rita, were together throughout this period.
هم طلعوا.
الاثنين طلعوا كان
But at the end, my friends left the monastery, and I stayed and continued.
كملت
The dream of Jerusalem began when I arrived there on November 5th, 1989, a date I will never forget because it was an essential event in my life.
اليوم اللي انا وصلت فيه القدس فكان بالنسبة لي شيء كبير.
قصة جميلة.
A nice story. How is it possible that a vocation is born from a word between friends or with a priest or a friar? It is possible because God also speaks through the voice of men, which is a special and beautiful thing. But now we want to leave aside the beauty of the story of your vocation and talk about what is happening on the field. Today, Father Ibrahim is involved in a very important project. And when I learned from you personally that the project was being prepared, and even before the first group of children and young people from Gaza arrived, I said to myself, we must make a report on this project. And in fact, many international and local television channels have talked about this initiative. What is the project of the children and young people of Gaza after the war, and their presence in Italy? What is the purpose of the project? How did this idea arise, and where is it going?
المشروع ولوين بده يوصل المشروع هون.
شوف بدنا مشروع
The Gaza project is above all a humanitarian project. Everyone knows my good relations with Italy and with the Italian government.
كل الناس بتعرف
I have many friends who work for the Italian government, and before this project, I sent many people to be treated, to study, to participate in football camps, and in meetings between Palestinians and Israelis.
للدراسة لمخيمات كرة قدم للقاءات بين الإسرائيليين والفلسطينيين.
We have done many different projects where we worked side by side with Italy. We helped children, elderly people, and women. We helped some cases that were difficult to be treated and cured in Palestine, and Italy received them.
شيوخ كبار
When I saw, with the last war, the number of children who die and those who come out from under the rubble, and how many people are losing their lives, especially children, I said to myself, we must save them and treat them, since in Gaza, the hospitals are destroyed and there is no possibility of treatment there. Then I began to think about the possibility of bringing some children to be treated in Italy, and it was divine providence through a person who does not want his name to be mentioned and who occupies a very high position in Italy.
فقلت لازم نشوف ازاي نقدر ننقذ هالاطفال ومعالجة هالاطفال والاطفال اللي كمان المستشفيات اتدمرت ما فيش اي امكانية لمعالجة الاطفال فقلت لازم نشوف ازاي نقدر نطلع هذول الاطفال لايطاليا وكانت العناية الالهية انسان ما بديش اقول اسمه ولكن ليه مركز كبير جدا في ايطاليا.
He wants to remain anonymous because he did it out of love and wants it to be known only by the Lord.
بيضل اسمه يعني عند ربنا نقول اسمه.
بالظبط.
By chance, he and his wife came to the Holy Land. He called me and said, I do not want to see anyone except you. I'm here with my wife for 3 days. So I presented the idea of the project to him and told him that this was a dream for me. How can we help these children get treatment in Italy? His wife was so touched, and she said, "This is divine providence," as he had asked her before the holidays what he could offer her. And her response was to go to the Holy Land, and she said, "God wanted me to be here to do this project, and I really hope to achieve it."
قالت له انا بس عايز اروح الاراضي المقدسه. فقالت له ربنا جابني هون علشان تحقق هالمشروع. بتمنى عليك تحقق هالمشروع.
Her husband then took this initiative seriously and met with the Italian government and came back to me saying that things had gone well and that they would soon start organizing the transfer of some children.
وفعلا كان شيء مش طبيعي ما نبدا نطلع.
هون اللي هو يعني
This person arranged everything with the Italian government, but the amount of coordination work is much greater. How much work does it take to coordinate the transfer of a group of 10 or 15 children by plane or ship from the port of Al-Arish in Egypt to the port of Rome? And with which parties coordination is carried out? I imagine the amount of coordination work between 5 parties, and they are parties at war with each other.
Coordination is a large, thorny issue and is very difficult. To get these children out, an agreement is needed with the Palestinian Authority, with Hamas, with Israel, with Egypt, and with Italy, with 5 different parts. It is a very difficult process, but we are there, and this initiative has seen the light. The number of people who have already arrived in Italy is 111, with 2 planes and a ship. And today, another group of 60 people will arrive. We will go to receive them at Ciampino Military Airport. Ultimately, arriving at an agreement between 5 parties is a difficult and complex process.
كمان اليوم ان شاء الله هنستقبلهم في المطار في مطار شامبينو. هيوصلوا 60 واحد اطفال وكمان مرافقين، ويعني التنسيق كتير صعب، وان انت توصل لاتفاق بين 5 اطراف صعب جدا. ومع ذلك بقول
But I say, if we can find an agreement and if the intention is there, they can also agree to stop the war, to reach a truce, a peace agreement. I say it frankly, we reached an agreement with great difficulty, and you cannot imagine the extent of the obstacles in getting these children and their carers out. It's very, very difficult. Even getting them out of Gaza to the Rafah crossing point was very complicated. Under pressure, bombing and destruction. This is crazy, but we worked together despite the difficulties, and the impossible became possible.
والقصف وكل شيء مش سهل، والناس اللي احنا كمان القائمه اللي حد بنحكي في القائمه بعدين، ولكن ان انت توصل لاتفاق بهذا الطريقه وهذا الشيء ابونا صعب جدا.
We're not talking about 5 parties in agreement, which would have made coordination easy. You are building bridges between the warring parties, coordinating with Israel, and at the same time coordinating with Hamas. Building bridges to save children and the wounded pulled from under the rubble is not an easy thing, and I cannot imagine the amount of work you have done.
لأجل إنقاذ أطفال، لأجل إنقاذ مرضى، لأجل إنقاذ ناس طلعت من تحت الأنقاض، مش موضوع نهائيا سهل. فأنا مش قادر أتخيل حجم الشغل اللي بيصير.
It wasn't easy at all, on the contrary.
Father, obviously, as you said, the initiative was between you and this person who has a high position in Italy, and we appreciate his efforts. But how did the custody of the Holy Land encourage this issue? I personally had a conversation with the custos, Father Francesco Paton, who was very touched by the general situation and encouraged this initiative. What is the position of the custody of the Holy Land in giving impetus to this project?
حقيقي
I really want to thank the Superior General, Father Francesco Patton. I'm a monk, and before I started doing anything, I conferred with him about this idea, and he encouraged me a lot. He deeply felt the project and loved it more than I did.
يعني بطريقة مش طبيعية. هو
He always asked me for updates. What have you done? Where have you arrived? He gave us a great push forward. This project is his. He cared about it more than about anything else. If he hadn't been on our side, this project would have never seen the light. Thanks to his strong encouragement, interest, and even concern. Personally, I was afraid that any obstacle could prevent the continuation of the project. I didn't want to sadden him, but he always remained with us with his prayers, and I see him full of happiness when he meets these children. I thank him, and I thank the custody of the Holy Land.
كتر تشجيعه ومن كتر اهتمامه ومن كتر قلقه ومن كتر هيك انا كنت بخاف انه الموضوع ما يمشيش على اساس ما يحزنش ما يكونش صدمه له، ولكن حقيقي مشي كمان وبصلواته. كان دايما يقول انا بصلي
جدا ومصلي ومتعبد.
دايما بيصلي من اجل هذا المشروع، بيصلي من اجل ما بيشوف الاطفال بيكون عنده يعني فرحه وسعاده مش طبيعيه. فانا كمان بشكره، طبعا بشكر حرس الاراضي المقدسه.
I have learned that the custodial curia has also encouraged this project.
Naturally, all the friars encourage these initiatives. We work for the good of humanity. This is not an easy project, besides being also expensive, but God always sends help.
هذا مشروع كمان مش سهل، وبعدين مكلف ابونا. مش سهل، مكلف يعني. الله بيبعت دايما.
Also, with the support of the custody of the Holy Land, the Superior General, and the Franciscan friars, we managed to carry out this project. And as you can see, yesterday we gathered all those who arrived in Rome. But I also went to visit the children and the sick in Bologna and Florence. I'm sad I wasn't able to visit those who are in Genoa and Milan, but I hope to visit them on my next trip. However, I am constantly in contact with them.
Father, you mentioned Rome, Genoa, Milan, and Bologna. I mean, they are not in a single region, and you visit all these hospitals and regions to check their conditions and their needs.
Sure.
Are you doing it all alone? Is there anyone else to help you?
Many are helping, thank God, and not only that, all of Italy wants to participate in the aid. I receive lots of calls from Calabria, Naples, Perugia, San Marino, and Puglia. All the Italian regions from north to south want to help.
من كل مناطق إيطاليا، من شمال إيطاليا لجنوب إيطاليا، الكل بده يشارك.
Ecclesial bodies or even civil bodies?
Civil and ecclesial bodies, everyone, bishops, priests, mayors, and presidents of provinces, everyone asks and wants to help. They are determined to contribute to this project.
الكل بيسأل والكل بده يساعد، وفعلا مصممين قديش بيتحايلوا بدهم يساعدوا في هذا المشروع.
Father, we will share with the viewers some scenes from some interviews we conducted with the children and the families of Gaza who came to Italy to receive treatment, and then we will continue our interesting dialogue.
هون في إيطاليا، وبعدين نرجع ونكمل الحوار الشيق مع أبونا إبراهيم فلتس.
When the war began, we were in our homes in Gaza. We moved south to Deir al-Bala, and my eldest daughter needed treatment in hospital, so my wife and my daughter went to the Emirates. We obtained coordination to complete the treatment in the Emirates, and today I am here in Italy. My family is spread out. One part in the Emirates, the other part is in Italy.
في شقة في الإمارات وشقة في إيطاليا.
I asked the competent authorities to help me go to stay with them so that I can be next to my wife in taking care of my daughter. I asked these authorities to help me go to my daughter. My son needs to leave as soon as possible. In Gaza, he has no treatment or medicine. I asked the competent authorities to act as soon as possible. My son could lose his life at any moment, and I can't sleep at night here. I spend most of my time with my son Muhammad in the hospital, and my mind is with my other children in Gaza. My son is in pain and is getting worse with each passing day. I want him to come here. I appeal to the whole world to take him out of Gaza for treatment. He is getting worse. He has no medicine there, and I cry for him every day. I have been suffering from kidney failure since I was 40 days old. I couldn't find daily treatment in Gaza. My house was bombed and we were pulled out of the rubble. Many members of my family were injured. A bomb dropped on us from a helicopter, exploded, and I lost consciousness. They pulled my mother out of the rubble. My father lost 4 fingers, and I hope he will come here to get artificial fingers.
وبابا أصابعه الأربعة راحن إن شاء الله بيجي هنا بيعمل أصابع صناعية.
I am 8 months pregnant. My husband is not with me, and neither is my daughter. Since I arrived, I have been asking them about my daughter. I can't stay without her. The fact that my husband isn't with me is enough. I have no one to take care of me. Every time I ask about my family members, they tell me they are trying to put a lot of pressure regarding my case. I hope I can hug my daughter before giving birth, even if only for 1 week. I hope they will allow her to complete her treatment here and that we can reunite again. I wake up every day hoping that they will tell me, "We will bring you your husband and your daughter."
بس مش ملاقي حدا جنبي لا بنتي ولا جوزي أنا بدي بنتي بس تكون جنبي وجوزي يرعاني لما أولد أفرح أنا وبناتي التنتين أنا لسه
I am still young and I have not yet seen a single beautiful day in my life.
بدي أشوفها في حضني خليها تكمل علاج هنا بس مش قادرة أحكي والله يعني هي مبادرة حلوة كتير كتير وجزا الله كل خير يعني بدل روح أنقذ روحين روحي وروح لسه ما شافت الدنيا وإن شاء الله يا رب يعني شكرا كتير 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 إله يعني قد ما نحكي مش حنقدر نوفي معروفه بس أنا بدي كمان شغلة واحدة يكمل معروفه ويجمعني في جوزي قبل ما أولد خليه يوقف معي قبل ميلادي خليني ألم بس يلم لي جوزي وبنتي قبل ما أولد بس هي كل اللي بدي إياه وشكرا
Thanks to the Italian government who brought us here, treated us well, respected and estimated us. Infinite thanks go to Father Ibrahim Feltz, who followed our case. He came on the ship, visited us in the hospital and here at our home and cheered us up. I hope they will follow on our case till the very end. I thank them very much.
وجانا هنا كمان رفع معنوياتنا وجانا على المستشفى ما قصر معانا وإن شاء الله بتابعوا لنا موضوعنا بنطالب إنه يتابعوا لنا موضوعنا للآخر يعني ما يسيبونا لآخر لحظة وكتر الله خيرهم وشكرا لهم كتير.
بتمنى إنه يجيبوا أبوه.
I hope they will bring my father here with my brothers and my sisters and that they are safe and at peace. I hope this war ends. I want to live with them. I ask God to stop the war and may God protect my brothers and sisters and my father. And I take this opportunity to tell my father, I love you so much. I ask God to see you soon.
بحبك كتير كتير، وإن شاء الله بشوفك.
Dear brothers and sisters, we have returned after listening to the comments and the contributions of our people in Gaza. We are back with Father Ibrahim. We are wondering, based on the appeals we have heard, and these people who have begun to complain about family separation. The father is in one area, the children in another, and the mother in yet another. Here I mention the pregnant woman, a very sad situation. What are the arrangements for after treatment? What is the fate of these families?
It's not just separation, it is displacement. Many of them have been displaced. If the family consisted of 9 members, you have heard and seen how they are dispersed. The Gaza Strip is also divided into 2 parts, and families are dispersed. There is a family with 2 members here, 3 in the southern Gaza, and 4 members in northern Gaza, and there is no contact between them. There is another family who has a daughter being treated in Qatar, a son being treated in Turkey, and another being treated in the Emirates. They are all displaced.
كمان هون موجودين في لهم بنت في قطر بتتعالج، في لهم ابن في تركيا بيتعالج، لهم حد في الامارات بيتعالج. تشردوا يعني الكل تشرد.
There are difficult stories, very, very difficult. I want to say that this project is a humanitarian project. We have to separate politics from a project like this. This is the custody of the Holy Land, who looks forward to build the human being who is more important than anything else.
وأهم شيء عندنا في الكل إنه الإنسان. الإنسان أهم من أي شيء تاني. هذولة الأطفال.
How beautiful are these children? They are very intelligent.
عندهم ذكاء مش طبيعي.
Giowan, for example, who is in Bologna, sings today and was able to learn a little bit of Italian in just 1 month. I asked them, what school does this little girl go to? Do you know what their answer was? She hasn't gone to school yet. She is 6 years old and has never gone to school.
في أي مدرسة هذه؟ تعرف إيش قالوا لي؟ ما راحتش مدرسة. ما راحتش مدرسة. 6 سنين ما راحتش مدرسة. ما راحتش مدرسة. ما راحتش مدرسة.
I say that these children have not lived their childhood. They have grown up too quickly because they live with pain and suffering and are ahead of their time.
Yes, they are ahead of their time.
But I've never seen children with such intelligence and such beauty in my life. Most of the children who came here come out from under the rubble. Indeed, what I saw from the television report struck me a lot, and I was determined to carry out this project, regardless of anything else. I'm ready to talk and communicate with anyone. What matters to me is that these children survive. They must be saved, because saving the life of just one child will be rewarded immensely by God. Believe me, if these children had stayed in Gaza for just 1 more week, none of them would have survived.
When I delved into some cases, because I couldn't study them all, I discovered that some children were in very bad medical conditions, to the point that various doctors stated that if they had stayed on for an extra week or a month, they would have certainly lost their lives.
If some of them had stayed another 2 days, there they would have lost their lives. For this reason, there are also mistakes and confusion in the list of names. This is a difficult coordination between 5 parties. The children leave Gaza to go for treatment in Italy and find themselves in Qatar or Egypt. You must know that there are children being treated in Egypt, Turkey, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. Complete dispersion, and Italy is the only European country that treats these children. And that is why you see the father and the mother and their child in Turkey or the Emirates and their daughter in Qatar or Egypt. Something inconceivable, unacceptable. But we hope that this war will end and that these families will reunite and all return together.
الأب والأم هون والابن في تركيا أو الابن في الإمارات أو الأخت في قطر أو في مصر. يعني شيء مش طبيعي وطبعا ما بيقدروش يكونوا مع بعض. تشتت.
Regarding our initiative, there is a clear agreement. Those who leave for Italy leave for Egypt, and from Italy return to Egypt after completing the required treatment. From Egypt, they can go wherever they want. That's the deal, and it's clear. After that, whoever wants to go to Qatar will go. Whoever wants to go to the United Arab Emirates will go, and so on.
ولكن هي الاتفاقية إنه كل اللي طالعين على مصر على إيطاليا بيجوا على إيطاليا بيتعالجوا وبيرجعوا كل على مصر مطار العريش زي ما طلعوا من هناك وبيرجعوا هناك ومن هناك اللي عايز يروح على قطر بيروح على قطر اللي عايز يروح على الإمارات بيروح على الإمارات اللي عايز يروح على غزة بيروح على غزة اللي يعني كل احترام بيرجعوا على مصر.
In fact, their stories are not easy. They are not easy at all. These are stories that make you cry, and you can't even imagine them. What happened with these people is incredible. And you heard what the children said, and you saw with their own eyes children crying and looking for their families. I want my father. I want my mother. And in other cases, I want my husband.
بدي بابا بدي ماما واحدة بدي زوجي بدي يعني واحدة قالت لي هاتولي.
Also, another poor woman who is 8 months pregnant said she doesn't want to give birth without having her husband by her side because she has no one to take care of her. There are many sad stories that the mind cannot even imagine, stories that we never thought or imagined could happen in our time. Unfortunately, we are here in the year 2024, and all of this is happening. Where is humanity? But I tell everyone in Italy, despite everything, we saved the lives of these children, and I hope everyone does the same. Imagine that up to this point, around 9,000 women and 13,000 children have been martyred. This is what has been officially announced, not to mention those under the rubble and the bodies in the streets that have not been buried. We heard yesterday that 5 relatives of a person who was here in Rome were killed, and they were all put in one sack.
قرايبه 5 مرة واحدة استشهدوا حطوهم في كيس واحد.
نعم كانت شهادة واحد من الأشخاص.
I would like to underline to the viewers that we are unable to broadcast all the testimonies we collected because some of them are very touching and we do not want to exceed our media limits. We aired the most moderate testimonies because ultimately we respect the dignity of each person, his life and his family.
But in Gaza, there are also 60,000 pregnant women and more than 40,000 orphan children.
40,000 orphan children.
Many times they say that this number is exaggerated, and I say that there are more than 40,000 orphan children. Families in Gaza are large, starting from 9 up to 15 or 18 members. The birth rate in Gaza is high. It's not like in Europe and other countries.
مش زي أوروبا ولا زي أي مكان تاني لا عندهم أولاد العيلة بتكون كبيرة قالوا لي
There are some families living in one house and their number can reach 50 persons. A house like this was bombed and everyone who lived there died. Many families in Gaza, who are very large and numerous at the same time, have been deleted from the registry. 95% of the children who arrived in Italy lost their passports. They lost everything, even their identity documents, and to help them, they were given a visa on a blank sheet of paper. This doesn't happen anywhere in the world. They lost everything, even their documents. Only a small number of those who arrived here kept their passports. 2 or 3 out of 117 people. It's incredible.
اللي معاه الباسبور اعتقد 1 ولا 2 كتير 3 من 117 واحد خسر كل شيء حتى الهوية حتى الباسبور.
Here, I would like to really thank the Italian government, which agreed to issue the visas on a blank sheet of paper, and the full name of the injured child is attached next to the visa. I would like to also thank the Italian people and their country. Italy is the living conscience of the Palestinian cause. It sided with justice and worked with great sympathy for the Palestinian people. We also see it through the Italian pilgrims who come to the Holy Land and are happy among the Palestinian people, but also among the Israelis. I also thank the Italian government who did everything possible to achieve this project. What they did was neither easy nor simple. How much pain people go through to get a visa. But when they looked at the cases and saw their severity, they were forced to move quickly to save these lives. And we thank God. Many of those who arrived were cured. Some of them completely recovered, and the children regained their beauty, intelligence, and spontaneity. And this is true happiness. See the pinnacle of humanity. These children were dead and are now alive. These are the future of their country, and they are the ones who will rebuild Gaza, God willing.
Here I have a question which I would have liked to postpone until the end of the program. But I can see the extent to which you are touched and how you interact with this topic. Father Ibrahim Feltz, on a personal level, regardless of whether you are a friar and a priest of the custody of the Holy Land, or vicar of the custody of the Holy Land. Despite all this, what do you feel when you see these children arriving at the airport? When you see the children and women arriving on planes or ships for treatment, knowing the amount of work that precedes all this, what are the feelings in your heart when you see this scene and experience every moment with them?
لما بتشوف هذا المنظر قدامك عم بتعيشه انت لحظة في لحظة معهم.
It's a feeling I can't describe. I say that these children were dead and came back to life. I repeat it again. These children were dead and came back to life. A feeling that cannot be described in any dictionary of the Arabic language, because the number of martyrs has reached 32,000 to date, and around 73,000 injured, not to mention the thousands under the rubble. So those who arrived in Italy were dead and came back to life. We gave them back their lives.
وحوالي 73,000 جريح وغير بعيد وبكرر الآلاف اللي هم تحت الأنقاض. يعني هذول كانوا أموات وصاروا أحياء. أعطينا لهم الحياة.
Father, as you were speaking, I imagined yourself as one of the disciples who were with Jesus when he said, Talitha, get up. As if you were with Saint Peter and Saint John. I imagine this scene through your words.
We are all disciples of Christ, and we must be this way. This is our life in our mission as Franciscan friars, and it's very important. If it weren't for this mission, we would not have been able to stay and resist for 800 years in the Holy Land.
ولو مش هي رسالتنا ما كناش نقدر نقعد 800 سنة في هذه البلاد المقدسة.
We have lived under very large empires, which have tried to take this land from us with violence, with weapons, and with force. All these attempts failed, ended, and were defeated, and the Franciscans remain because our mission is service, humility, and love for the human being. We lived through this siege. The Franciscan friars experienced the siege of the Church of the Nativity 22 years ago. And we were 30 Franciscan friars coming from more than 17 countries. In the corridors of the monastery during the period of the siege, none of us imagined that we would come out alive. And we put our lives in danger for the sake of 240 Palestinians. Only one of whom was Christian. But we do not discriminate. We lived as they live today in Gaza under siege for 39 days. We were all about 260 people, including monks and lay people, but in Gaza there were 2,400,000 people. We had no food, water, electricity, and even our medicines were taken away.
بين رهبان والعلمانيين
والعلمانيين والفلسطينيين اللي دخلوا هيك كنا 260 بس هذول 2 مليون و400 ألف واحد ولكن هناك كمان كان في الحصار لا كان في أكل لا كان في شرب لا كان في كهرباء لا كان في مي لا كان في إشي العلاج والدواء اللي كان ما بيدخلش.
Among the monks, there was a French monk who was over 80 years old. I told him, "You have to go out, Father. We can't bring you medicines." He answered, and I will never forget what he said, "I came here for the good of these people. I'd rather die with them. It's not possible for me to go out and leave them alone." I cannot forget these words, and I must say that many other monks have also performed actions that honor them. I am one of those who were born on May 9th, 2002, when the last young Palestinian left the Church of the Nativity. Yes, as monks, we experienced what they experience today in Gaza. 8 people were killed inside the basilica, and more than 27 were injured while trying to go out into the church's garden to bring some grass and lemon leaves to fry and eat. And look today in Gaza. How many people there die of hunger, thirst, cold? They die more than once, and if humanitarian aid arrives, they die in line to receive it.
ما بيموتوش اللي بيموتوا علشان المساعدات ما بتوصلش بيموتوا علشان هم واقفين في الطوابير علشان ياخدوا قطعة خبز.
How many times did they open fire on people queuing to receive aid? I'm sorry to say, but today they eat animal food because of this siege.
قديش بيموتوا شوف الحشيش اللي بياكلوه صاروا بياكلوا سوري يعني اكل الحيوانات.
نعم هذه نزلت على الأخبار
القطط في الشوارع
كل ما يؤكل
يعني.
We are in the year 2024, but is all this possible? There is no intact house in Gaza. More than 70% of the houses are completely destroyed. There are about 60 wars still going on around the world today, but have mercy on these children.
دمرت البيوت دمر كل شيء. في حد بيقدر يصدق انه في اطفال اوكي في حرب في حوالي 60 حرب دايره في العالم ولكن في اطفال بيموتوا من الجوع وناس بتموت من الجوع الأعداد رهيبة.
The number of those who lost their lives or who were taken hostage, displaced, and injured are horrible numbers.
شيء مش لا يتخيله عقل.
Father, in the last comments you made, you answered 3 questions. Why is the custody interested in these projects? and you responded through the siege of the Nativity Church. Despite all circumstances, we, the friars of the custody of the Holy Land, sons of Saint Francis, have our calling and our service, and they are for the glory of the one and the triune God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. We continue, and we want to continue, despite the wars, the difficulties, and the fatigue.
I want to say here that the children of St. Francis in the Holy Land represent the whole world and not a specific country. We are 300 monks from 64 countries, and the spirit that unites us is love for the Holy Land and its custodianship. But above all, it is love for the human being and for his edification.
مش ممكن نتخلى عن حراسة الأماكن المقدسة. هذا صارت شيء في الدم، وكمان أكثر شيء محبة الإنسان وبناء الإنسان، وإن إحنا الإنسان عندنا أهم من أي شيء تاني.
Because for us, the human being is more important than anything else, and that's why we've been here for 800 years. This is what unites 64 countries in one direction and one mission. If we deviate from this mission, we're finished. We won't last 800 years.
انحرفنا عن هذه الرسالة بننتهي. ما نكونش موجودين، ما بنقعدش 800 سنة، ما بنقعدش أبدا 800 سنة. الكل بيعرف في هالأرض المقدسة.
There are people who came here and occupied the holy places. Some of them stayed for 100 years, or 200, or 400 years, but they ran out and were defeated. The Franciscan monks are the ones who stayed the longest in the Holy Land. There is no one who has managed to survive for 800 years. Search history, and you will not find any entity or institution that is 800 years old. No government, nor states. And God willing, the custody will be there forever, because with this spirit and what we offer, we have been able to survive. Not with weapons, violence, or force. This has never been easy.
شوف قديش حاولوا يكونوا موجودين في هذه البلاد بكل وسائل العنف، بكل ما أوتي من قوة، ولكن انتهوا، كلهم انتهوا وفضلوا الرهبان الفرنسيسكان.
And here I would like to say that the Franciscan friars have paid a very high price to preserve the holy places and the human being. More than 2,000 monks have been martyred in history to preserve these places. 2,000 monks gave their lives for this noble goal, and it wasn't easy.
Dear viewers, the sons of Saint Francis in the Holy Land will go on. We thank you, Father, for this interesting interview. Thank you for all this service, this gift, and this love. Many friars offer it in the footsteps of Saint Francis and for the glory of our Lord Jesus Christ, working and serving in the Holy Land. Dear viewers, as we have heard and understood from Father Ibrahim Feltz, the work in the field of the Lord and the call to follow in the footsteps of Saint Francis is to love in endless gift. This calling and this mission are what motivates work and giving. This is what decides how and where the sons of Saint Francis work, and what decides what they continue to do tirelessly without interruption. Why? Because it's the story of their life. And what is their story? Simply put, dear brothers and sisters, our story is a story of love.
قصة حياتهم وبكل بساطة إخوتي وباللغة العامية قصتنا قصة حب.